I've been through so many testing phases and isolation phases in my life. I know how it all works now. And I can tell you right now, if you're going through this phase, you are on the brink of the breakthrough. And I'm not saying that in some like cringy motivational way. This is just how life works. It gets quiet before it clicks. And there's a reason why. It's the final testing period. You've had all of this growth personally. You've made all this progress. But before you're given that blessing, before you're given the thing, there's a final little molding period that has to happen to make sure you're not going to fuck it up. Most lottery winners go broke in the first year. I think it's like 60%, 70%, because it's handed to them on a plate. Nothing about their identity or how they behave has changed in acquiring the money. If somebody earns it, it's a different story. If you're just given it, you don't know how to handle that. You're not prepared for it. Big goals, big visions that you've got to be a certain version of you. You have to be a certain who for what you want. And you have a dream and you have that ambition in your heart and in your mind for a reason, because not everybody has it. Not everybody's even aware that this even exists. You know the feeling I'm talking about, how you imagine life being, how you've seen it in your mind. Not everybody even, never mind, has that themselves. They don't even understand people like us have it. They don't even understand that's on our mind 24/7. And some people are very proactive with it. They're almost ahead of schedule. They recognized it early on in life and they just fucking went after it, and they've always been on time. And this is when you see the 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds living out in Dubai, killing it. They just got on with it. Now there's other people that still have that ambition and the same level of almost being a visionary, knowing they're built for more, but they're not proactive. And if you don't go and seek it out, life will give you the conditions to test you and mold you into the person you need to be for what you want. But you've got to rise to that challenge. It's not a passive process. It's an active process. Isolation doesn't mean loneliness. Isolation is referring to what's going on in here and in your heart. You've got loads of friends still, maybe you've got a relationship, you've got your family, but you still feel isolated. Those words don't mean the same thing. What it looks like is conversations not feeling as relevant. Looking at how you're spending your time and money. Sitting down to watch Netflix and thinking, this is not a good use of my time. Misaligning from all the things that you previously used to do, and therefore all the ways you built connections with other people. I don't drink alcohol anymore. Drank probably 4 times in 2025. I'm not going to drink at all this year. But I used to be an animal. And obviously you build friendships over going to the pub and going out. And then as soon as you make a decision to stop going out and stop drinking as much, you don't see those people anymore. But that can happen on this level, And I think the main thing really is people just misinterpret it, because they're working towards addition. They're working towards more money, better physique, more freedom, fulfillment, things being added to their life. What they don't realize is they need subtraction to make space for things to be added back in. And the isolation period removes distractions and it forces you to go inwards and go, okay, what do I need to get rid of right now? You know what it is. Sometimes it's glaringly obvious. Yeah, this habit, I'm lying to myself. Sometimes it's not as obvious. Sometimes it takes a little bit of soul searching. But that's what this period's asking you to do. That's why I'm saying you've got to rise to the challenge. It throws you off. Part of having ambition and a vision is you've got this idea in your mind of what it's going to be. And as you're getting closer and closer to it, life looks less and less like the vision. It feels like it's against the grain, but it isn't. You only get what you are, how you behave, how you act, how you think. So if you don't have what you want yet, you haven't thought, behaved, and acted in alignment with the version of you who has it. And that's the gap that you've got to bridge. Now, a new perspective to look at this through is a season of pruning. This is the phrase they use in the Bible, season of pruning, season of testing. A good gardener trims away flower heads or leaves. I'm not versed up with gardening, but I understand the concept, for it to grow further. So it's a temporary pullback for it to really blossom later on. If you leave it, it will grow quicker and it will reach the size you want quicker, but it'll die off. So there's temporary cutbacks along the way that help the growing process. Temporary removal of habits, removal of people, a shift in focus. When you spend time with yourself and you spend time in stillness and you reflect and you go out and walk and you don't take your phone, there's no headphones, and you drive in silence and you contemplate and you think and you analyse, you uncover all this stuff. It's like you see through the veil. When you empty your mind and you make room, the revelations come to you and it's like, okay, yeah, I see how this thing here has been very damaging in my life. It's been blocking me getting to the next level. At the level you're trying to operate at, certainly the level I'm trying to operate at, it's so far beyond the average person. They're not glaringly obvious things. And you will never discover what needs to be removed without going into intense periods of reflection and stillness and going deeper within. Because 99% of people haven't encountered that as a little block. Could be just a small little way that you're processing a certain thought, or the energy you bring in to the morning, the state of consciousness, the perspective that you're doing just the daily tasks in. It's just bringing your frequency down a little bit. Sometimes you don't clock any of that. And you can't talk to the average person. You can't talk to your schoolmates about it because they don't get it. That's the stuff you've got to figure out. But the main thing here is you're being tested. You're being asked to rise to the occasion. It's active, not passive. Just because you're being tested, it doesn't mean you're going to pass. You've got to go after it. You can't leave anything on the table. Your life only levels up after the isolation phase if you raise your standards, if you seek alignment. You've got to reorder everything internally and externally. Routine, structure, everything you're doing with work. You've got to figure out a new system, maybe. I've done it this week. I've changed my calendar all around again because I realised that I wasn't making enough time. I was misaligned to who I'm trying to be. I wasn't making enough time to strategize. And I'm pumping content out and I'm fulfilling all I need to do with clients. But I'm not strategizing for the future. Now, the version of me I'm trying to be, he's always strategizing. So I need to embody that now. So I'm moving my calendar around. That's like an external thing, but we've also got to get everything reordered internally. What thoughts and beliefs aren't serving us anymore? Because they've got to go now. Right? It's part of the test. And if you're looking around and you're thinking, I don't really know what this isolation period is asking me to get rid of next. You've got to keep looking because there's something there. You have to look inwards. You don't know what's coming around the corner. This is the thing. Now, I don't know what's coming around the corner. And it sounds contradictory because you've got it mapped out in your mind. You think about it all the time. You know how it looks and you know how it feels. But also, it almost always exceeds expectations. And this is the counterweight to the frustrating period you're currently going through now, where it's like, this is an annoying situation. Why is it not clicking? But the longer you go through that, the more you're being tested, the higher your standards become, the more aligned you become, the bigger the blessing on the other side when you break through. You can't fathom how good it's going to be. And the more you're being tested, the bigger the blessing is. That's how you look at it. It's the only way to look at it. Because if you've got to go through the testing period, why not just make it work for you? Why not just turn it around in your mind and go, instead of, oh fuck, it's not clicking, I'm being tested for something fucking massive here. And I don't know what it is, but I've been tested for a long time and I am sick of it, I'm exhausted. But my God, this is going to be huge. It's how life works every time. I almost unalived myself in university. That's how bad it got for me. And now I'm in a position I never thought I would be in a lifetime, never mind in 4 or 5 years. And at the time I was like, why is this happening to me? I'm not that bad of a person. I'm suffering. But that molded me into who I am today, and who I am today has given me this version of life so far, which is beautiful. So there's your evidence, You can find that in your own life. You can look back. When were you tested? You thought this at the time. Okay, what do you think about it now? People say to me, do you regret all that stuff at uni? And I say, no. No, I don't. Because I wouldn't be here now without it. So that's all it is, guys. Testing. Just reframe it in your mind. Don't convince yourself that you've already done enough. It's very easy to do. These are the levels, guys. I keep giving you these little tiny things, right? And they seem almost insignificant. I spend a lot of time in content talking about the full rebuild and changing your identity, upgrading your standards, routine, structure, fitness, training, getting in the shape of your life. These big things that almost make sense. When you go up to the higher levels, all of that stuff, you just do it. I'm 10% body fat at the minute. I've got veins everywhere, all over my abs, all over my legs. I'm not even thinking about my fitness journey. That's someone's dream position. That's the level I'm at, not not brown nosing myself. A lot of my clients are at that level as well. But the point I'm making is to go up from this level to the next one. It's nothing big like that. It's these little things you've got to be receptive to. And when you convince yourself you've done enough already, I deserve it. It's entitled. Why is it not clicking? I deserve it. I've done enough already. No, you fucking haven't. Because every time I said to myself on this journey, which has been 5 years, 6 years, I'd say, I'm going all in. I'm leaving nothing in the tank. This is it. This is the turning point. I followed through on that every time, and I've said it another 5-6 times. So every time you give your all, it just becomes your new baseline, and then you go to the next level. But as you climb higher and higher and higher, the high leverage jumps are just small little tweaks to your mind, the way you behave, your habits, how you manage your time, who you spend time around. Don't convince yourself you've done enough. Always look for it. Just be open. Okay, I can be better. I can always be better. Rise to the challenge. That's it. That's fucking it, guys. Rise to the challenge. It's standards and alignment. You're being tested right now, and the universe is saying, I know how hard you've been working. I'm going to give you it, but you need to prove it with this final test now. I need you to look around and go, oh yeah, I need to change this. Actually, yeah, I can squeeze a little bit more out of that. The isolation phase is one of the most valuable phases you can ever go through in your life. Just don't waste it. Engage in it. Become the man. Become undeniable. And you will break through in a matter of weeks.